years ago, I was an investigative journalist for a magazine called The Midnight Malediction. And this is the story of the time I came face to face with one of America's most evil men, John Wayne Gacy. In 1978,
this is a work of fiction.
Just after they arrested him, I was in Chicago. By the time the trial ended in 1980, he'd been convicted of 33 murders. 33. The worst single killer they'd ever seen in this country back then. And I walked through that house of his. I stood down in that crawl space where he buried so many boys. The magazine somehow got me access. I still don't know how. I didn't ask too many questions, but they paired me with Detective Morrison, a man who'd been inside that place more times than any soul should have to bear. We met for coffee first. He looked at me across the table like I was mad.
You must have a stomach of steel, Tim. The money must be good, or you really enjoy your job.
The money was never that good, but he wasn't far wrong on the second part. I needed the work. It let me look inside the minds of monsters. You see, there are things in my family bloodline, dark things, the kind you bury deep and pray they stay buried. So when the magazine sent me to write a story on men like Gacy, I never said no. I just smiled at the detective and said, "A job's a job."
Then let's go, Tim. Follow me down into the literal pits of hell.
That line stuck with me, sent a chill right through me. The drive felt long, but when we pulled up, the house looked ordinary. Just a modest single-story place on a quiet street. That was the horror of it. Nothing screamed monster from the outside, and the inside was the same. Cozy couch, warm lamps, ordinary.
He designed this place to look normal, but he couldn't help himself. All this clown shit everywhere. You know, the amount of parties this guy went to dressed up as a clown was a little suspicious. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, why would anyone
I
be dressing as a
walked
clown?
deeper into that room. Clown figurines on every shelf, staring with those hollow painted eyes, license plates, car, memorabilia, but those photographs. I stopped at one and ran my thumb across the dust on the frame. Pogo, surrounded by children, smiling that enormous painted smile. He kept proof of his disguise. Every performance, every lie he told the world, he framed them all, hung them up like art. Every object in that room was a mask, and he loved looking at them. But Pogo was the truth. The contractor, the businessman, the man who shook hands and smiled politely, that was the lie. Under that white paint, behind that red grin, that was who he really was. You see, that mask gave him freedom. It gave him permission. It told him he could do anything and no one would suspect a thing. It was the performance to keep people looking the other way. Pogo was power. Pogo was the real John Wayne Gacy.
Tim, are you ready to go down into the crawl space?
I wasn't. But I nodded anyway. The entrance was just a small wooden hatch in the floor, unassuming, clean. Gacy had kept up the illusion right until the end. When Morrison lifted it, the smell rose up like something living. Thick, damp, rotten, but old, not fresh. The kind of smell that gets into your clothes, your skin, your dreams. The neighbors, they smelt it for years and thought it was just sewage. I lowered myself down. You couldn't stand. You crawled, hands and knees in packed earth, cold and wet, beneath my palms. The flashlight, that beam cut through the dark, and the deeper we went in, the worse it became, until it wasn't a smell anymore. It was presence. It sat on my chest, thick in my mouth. Morrison spoke like a man who could suppress the horror well.
The youngest victims were only 14 years old. Children, really. He targeted those who were vulnerable. Some he knew personally, others were strangers passing through town. He would draw them in with promises of work, money, or a simple invitation to his home. But behind that door was a nightmare they never saw coming. What began as a seemingly harmless encounter quickly turned into a desperate fight for survival. He manipulated his victims, controlled them, and kept them trapped while carrying out acts of unimaginable cruelty. Investigators later discovered evidence that revealed just how calculated his crimes were. And when his victims were gone, he hid them away beneath his home, in a place that would eventually become one of the most disturbing crime scenes investigators had ever uncovered. And we are here, Tim.
What happened in that house was horrendous beyond measure, but I'll tell you this. He kept their things. Jewelry, wallets, identification. He kept things like trophies, like proof of the good times he had. He needed to remember. The beam of my flashlight moved across the dirt, and I saw the graves. 26 of them there. Men still digging, brushing soil from things I won't describe. I kept telling myself to breathe through my mouth. Never the nose. Never the nose.
A building inspector came out because of the smell. My partner and I rocked up, and again Gacy invited us in. I couldn't smell anything, thought it was another dead end, until I used the bathroom. That's when I caught that unmistakable scent coming through the vents.
In the days after, they tore that crawl space open. 26 bodies found under the house. 3 more on the property. 4 in the river. 33 in total. That night, the world no longer saw John Wayne Gacy as the friendly contractor next door. He was now the killer clown. And it wasn't long until I sat in that courtroom and saw him in person. Composed, calm, hands folded like he was waiting for a bus. The defense attorney stood first. His voice carried the weight of a man trying to save a life.
The psychiatric evidence is overwhelming. Borderline schizophrenia, multiple personalities, paranoid psychosis. This is a fractured mind, a man at war with himself. John Gacy did not choose these acts. Something inside him, something broken beyond repair, made these choices for him. You cannot execute a broken mind. You must treat it.
The prosecutor rose slowly. He moved to the center of the room and let the silence sit for a moment.
Broken. I ask you to remember the crawl space. He dug trenches before his victims were even dead. He used lime to manage the smell. He drew maps in his mind of where each body would rest. That is not fractured thinking. That is precision. That is planning. This man held down a job. He ran a successful business. He shook hands with the First Lady of the United States. A man who performs at children's birthday parties by day and buries boys beneath his floorboards by night doesn't suffer from insanity. This monster behind the mask has been exposed for what he truly is, a ruthless killer.
The jury was out. Guilty 33 times. And as I sat there listening, something settled in me. Something cold. The defense was right about one thing. Gacy had a broken mind. Something fractured inside him that could not be repaired. I understood that. I live with that every day. The parts of me that don't work the way they should. The darkness that won't stay buried no matter how hard you push it down. But the prosecutor was right too. Gacy learned to hide it, to perform, to smile and shake hands and appear normal, while the real him worked in the dark, methodical and precise. I do the same thing every single day. I went to Chicago to write about a killer, but what I found instead was a mirror. And for a moment, I almost recognized the man looking back. And that troubled me. It still does. Because I understood him in ways I shouldn't. The broken parts, the hiding, the mask you wear so the world never sees what's underneath. The darkness that won't stay buried no matter how hard you try to push it down. I live with all of that every single day. Gacy just stopped fighting the urges. He let Pogo take over completely, and maybe that's what unsettled me most. Not that I'm like him, but that I understand exactly how easy it would be to stop pretending. How thin the line really is between the man I show the world and the man I actually am. Anyway, I got what the magazine needed, and I went home. John Wayne Gacy was executed on May the 10th, 1994.